Hello, everybody. We've got some more Berninalinie information. There's not a roadmap article, a Dovetail Live article announcing when the thing's going to release, how much it's going to cost, and we've got a few more screenshots. So I thought for the first time ever, I'd actually go through and find real life images to put next to um, all of the screenshots given, and also I've provided my thoughts on some things. So first thing is all of the new information. So it releases on the 16th of January, which is in a week's time. Costs €36, £30 and $40. So quite expensive. That's normal route price for something that's really not that long. The Allegra will not layer onto the Erosa line in normal timetables or scenarios. Apparently there are custom road traffic features, which the way they described just sounded like the regular road traffic features at any other level crossing anywhere else in the game. Largo Bianco freezes in winter. I'm not sure why that's a feature, because that's just a thing that happens. That's like saying, oh, yeah, we're building the island line and the ocean has water in it. That's just a fact. Like the mountain has trees on it. Wow, what a feature! And they've made a sort of they said they're putting assets for the glacier in Alp Grüm. What that is, I'm not sure, but one of the screenshots might be a screenshot of that. I'm not certain. I thought the glacier was on the other side of the line, but that's okay. We'll get to that when we get to it. They are adding the ZA tank wagon, which you'll see a bit further on, which is good. I don't think we knew about that previously. They've told us what the timetable looks like. There's 49 services. 6 of them run either from Tirano to Bernin Ospizio, and a few of them run to Poschiavo, and they have shunting at some of the destination. They have shunting at, I presume, the Poschiavo or Ospizio, but maybe they're at Tirano. I'm not sure. They call them short services to Ospizio, but that's where all of the services end. It's just some of them terminate there in real life as opposed to continue off the route. There are 3 makeshift Bernina Express runs with the panorama coaches if you own them for the Erosa line. And that is 1 run down the hill, 1 run back up the hill, and a shunting, like a head shunt at Tirano. I'm not quite sure about this because I would have preferred to have the Bernina Express coaches. It's just 1 coach, I believe. It wouldn't have taken that much longer to add, and it would have made a big difference to these services. Maybe that'll be a DLC down the line, quite probably. We sort of knew about the auto announcements, but I'm not sure if we knew that they were in English, German, and Italian. We probably did. And there are 5 scenarios. They've given descriptions of them. I'll link to the article in the description so you can read all that, but the article was full of fluff and useless stuff and mistakes. And the Allegra has both the AC and DC voltage simulated, because the Bernina line runs on DC, I think 1000 volt overhead, and everything else on the s-bahn network runs on 11 kilovolt AC. What they haven't said is whether the dual pantograph functionality will work. Basically, on the DC mode on the Bernina line, whenever the Allegra units need more power, they will automatically raise the second pantograph. They have not said whether that will happen or not in this. So my guess is that that won't happen, but with any luck it will. It shouldn't be too hard to make, right? It's just a simple trigger. They've already got ammeters working. That should all be done with Simigraph, so surely that wouldn't be too difficult an affair. Some things that I picked up on in the roadmap that I wanted to comment on specifically. One of them, they claim the Allegra holds the speed record. I put the quote there. That's not true. If you just Google that, it quite clearly shows you that the current speed holder for meter gauge records, or speed record holder, is one of their 416, I think. ABE 416, I think Capricorn EMUs, which are sort of the latest EMUs that s-bahn have. And they put them up to 163 kilometers an hour in the Berninalinie tunnel. I hope that's correct. Something starting with V. The new tunnel they opened that has cars going, like car trains going through it. The second is that the route's not cheap. Like in Australian dollars, it's $2 per kilometer, per route kilometer as well. Because you've got to remember, and I didn't put a route map in here, but I probably should have. I might edit one over the top. The route is fairly, I mean, not super long, but it's reasonably long, right? It takes, I don't know, an hour and a half to do a run, but that's because, one, the trains are very slow. They're doing like 40, 50 kilometers an hour the whole way. The top speed is 60 kilometers an hour, but only on a few hundred meters of track. And second, there's spirals, there's switchbacks. There's one part around Poschiavo, I think, that has like 5 switchbacks. So, there's an extra like 5-10 kilometers, or not that much probably, but about an extra 5 kilometers just going backwards and forwards down the side of a mountain. When you think of the actual route distance, the valley that it runs in is not that long. And that's how I got the $2 per kilometer figure. Also, the excuse they gave for not having the Allegra work on the Arosa line, it might be legitimate. I can't fully comment, but I don't quite buy it. They've said basically that they can't get the Allegra to layer onto the Arosa line because they're not sure how to substitute, or they're not sure, or they can't be bothered, I'm not sure, how to substitute an EMU onto loco hauled services. But just some quick thinking can work out some workarounds to that. The first is, if you strap some coaches onto the back of the Allegra, like sometimes happens in real life, then you're effectively treating it as a locomotive anyway. So you might need to play around with the head shunt, exact stopping locations, so that the longer train can fit round point work. But it's not too much of a big deal. You just need to adjust some of the stop points, but other than that, it just works as a locomotive. And second, if that is not an option, then you could just take 2 GE 4x4 runs and swap them, like keep the original run timetable, but then once you get to the head shunts, you just get rid of them and just all of the, say you pick 2 of the loco haul trains, replace them with Allegras, and rewrite the timetable just for those 2 runs. It wouldn't be that difficult, and it's just, I suspect, trying to save time and money. And then again, I need clarification on the DC pantograph current collection auto raising. I wish there was a buzzword that could describe that, but whatever. Right, we'll move on to the screenshots now. This is just below Alp Groom Station. What is interesting, I think, is there's sort of this kind of almost interlaced track. So you see there's one pair here and another pair here, but you can't put 2 trains on each track, obviously, because they'll hit each other off. It's sort of interlaced track being where this rail would be on the inside of that rail. So there's still 4 distinct rails, but they're inside each other. But it's close enough, and it only exists for a little bit. I presume it's just, actually, I don't know why it happens. But it's just below Alp Groom, as I said. I couldn't find a fantastic photo to sync this up with, just because there aren't many angles available. All of the angles from trains coming up the hill, all of the cab ride footage is in summer, and the only winter footage that I could get going downhill is going downhill. And all of the Google Earth imagery is in summer as well, which is a shame. But this is the best I could come up with. You can see the interlaced track. I mean, obviously in this one the snow is all completely smooth because the game engine can't handle it. But you can see everything else is covered in snow. Everything else. You can't see grass, you can't see any of that. The trees do not have leaves on them in winter. That's a pretty big one. and the mountains look a bit bare because of it. But overall, I mean, it's okay, I guess. Given the limitations of the game, I wouldn't expect too much more. And you can't really make out the details on the mountains very well on this, so I'll let that slip. This one is sort of in Poschiavo. I might put maps up, or like on. Yeah, I will. I'll edit maps in so you can see where they are. And there's a little bridge here over a creek and a gallery down here. It sort of crosses over the side of a valley and then it continues back up the other side. I found this, and because it's summertime, everything works. I actually found this in Google Street View because this is one of 2 railways in the world that is fully covered by Google Street View, summertime only, and it only really looks good when you go downhill. But here we go. Now, I mean, there's still some snow there, but the first thing I noticed was the track is completely wrong. Completely wrong. This has concrete sleepers, very uniformly laid. In real life, they're whatever this abomination. I'm not sure. I like this as triangle sleepers, and the ballast is a completely different colour. And, you might say, oh, big deal, but it is noticeable. The trees are a completely different colour, and, half of them don't have any leaves on. And I know this is summer, but it's just... And the density of the trees, like this whole mountainside is covered in trees, and we come to this, and there's, a little bit patchy. Not a fan. Not a fan. Also, the grass, like, I know I'm really nitpicking, but I know the grass is sort of dead in this, but it's just too green in the game. Everything's too green. Everything should be more muted, more mountainous. The gallery looks okay. I don't really have anything to criticise about that. And the viaduct, we can't see much of the viaduct from this screenshot. Perhaps that's because it's terrible, maybe not. There's a tree stump there and what looks like a communications box there, but whatever. The overhead wiring looks okay, doesn't look bad, and of course we don't have a train there for reference. But yeah, they're a little bit disappointing on the scenery there. I mean, once you get further up, the actual mountains aren't bad, but it's just, as I've been saying this whole time, the trees are just awful. But it's certainly an improvement over a Rosa line. I want to make that clear. It's much better. This is in Tirano, where we go through the main square. This is fairly easy to identify. Some of the road features were incorrect, like some of the signage isn't quite right, which I know is very nitpicky, but this kind of street running, I would really appreciate it if it felt like you were running on a road. And I have to say, this looks a little bit just like a big level crossing, but in the actual thing, it's like the train just runs straight through the middle of the public plaza. The church looks well modelled, the buildings look well modelled, but the hill, my goodness, none of the trees have shadows. Like, none of them have shadows. They look almost 2D. I know they aren't, but what is going on there? What is going on there? There's no shadow. You can't... It just looks hideous. And this is it in real life. Not only are there what appear to be... wrong way. Not only are there what appear to be sort of vineyardy type things, and that building there looks like it should be up here, but I don't know, that might be just the perspective. The whole hill should be covered in trees. Covered in trees. Like, you shouldn't be able to make out tree trunks. It should just be trees, right? But, alas, we just have some bare hills. Like, over there, you see this rock face. Where is the rock face? It's not there, because it's covered in trees. Where is this rock thing here? It's there, but the building's in the wrong place. It's awful. The trees are awful. The trees are what ruin this route and the scenery. And how come some of them are just... Like, that one's red? Why? It's just bad. This is Toronto Station. I couldn't find a fantastic image for this, but this is the best I can do. It doesn't look awful. Again, just notice how lush the forests are on the hillside. How thick the forest is. And we look at this, and the hillside is literally completely bare. And I know you might be saying, oh, but the trees are pulled as different assets, so that they have a draw distance, and beyond that they won't load. If that hill is so far away, just render it as one texture that just looks like it's a lush forest. Because you don't actually need... I don't care if there's a trunk underneath all of them. All that I care is that it looks right, right? And you see this, I can't see a single tree trunk on that, but I can see that it's leafy and bushy. And there's very little just exposed grass. But I look at this and I see, oh, well, it's just a bald hill. It's bad. Also, what I didn't check is, yeah, so all of the pantographs, it would appear, or well, both of the pantographs are always up. I see that there's one there, one there, one there, one there. So maybe that's just they've defaulted to both of them up all the time. We can't see the second one there, obviously. And I think there's one more. Yeah, or a few more, actually. This is the cab of the ABE 812 Allegra. You can see the radio, or whatever this... Oh, this is looks like the announcement system. That looks fine. Well, it looks good. I mean, we can see the actual upcoming stations there. All of the gauges look all right. I'll show you an actual picture of the cab in a moment. The TMS looks fine. But again, outside, what is going on? We're in winter. None of these trees should have leaves. When I look across there, these trees should not be black, right? If there's snow on the ground, there should be snow all over the dead trees, or not dead, but all over the naked trees, for lack of a better term. I should not be able to see big blots of black. Fair enough, the rocks are black, but no, come on. And also, why is there exposed grass? Why can't... If this was proper winter, there would be snow coming up off the side of the rails would be inside the snow. You know, they'd be cleared out of snow, dug out of snow. Why is the grass exposed? And it's clearly winter. It's clearly the thick of winter because the whole mountain is exposed, right? And there's still snow in the trees. That would be like the first thing to melt, not the massive pile. Especially when trains push snow to the side, you would expect quite a large mound on the side of the line. Anyway, this is Alpgroom. It looks like the same place with the interlaced track. So I guess we could sort of make a alignment. I've only just realised to this sort of. I mean, this is sort of not quite correctly aligned, but you can see what I mean, right? You can't see grass here. The snow completely covers everything. The tree does not have any leaves on. I mean, you can sort of make out trees, but they're not as thick as they are in the game in winter on the side of the snowy hill. But where they are thick, you can't make out any individual trees. They just all blend into one forest, right? Whereas we look here, and I can count the... I mean, if I had the right amount of time, I could count every one of these trees in this screenshot, right? If they are so dense as this, I shouldn't be able to see them individually, and if they are not as dense as this, as I'm inclined to believe, then, you know, whatever. I'm prattling on about nothing. Let's have a look at a real cab. So you can see there, obviously the screens are not turned on, but it doesn't look awful. Doesn't look awful. I mean, we've already seen an image of the cab, but, you know, it doesn't look terrible. I mean, these plates are the wrong colour. That's not a great start. You know, wrong colour, but whatever. Yeah, it's fine, sure. And these are the tank cars. I wasn't bothered finding the actual location of this, but these are what are they? TA or ZA tank cars? What were they? ZA tank wagons. So that's them. And this is first class on board the train. This is on board the EMU. The PIS doesn't really seem to work there. Well, the station display does. But the inside of the train looks alright. I like the wood texturing. That looks good, and the table there looks good. And I tried to find this as close as I could, but this is sort of the same thing. You can see the tables look the same, and we've actually got something on the PIS. It would be nice if they had those, I presume they're timetables, hanging off here, or like tourist books or whatever they are. It'd be nice if they had them hanging off those hooks. But, you know, whatever. The door looks okay. It looks fine. And yeah, that's more or less everything. If I've massively overlooked something and I'm a complete idiot, then do let me know. I am quite happy to change my opinions if they are in fact wrong. Otherwise, thank you for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Have a fantastic day, and I shall see you all next time. Goodbye.